strong with that first win. And then we went on that 3-game losing streak, and it really just tore our team apart. Everybody was really torn up about it, especially last week and the week before. We had really close games. Could have came back in them, and then we couldn't come back at the very end. So just getting this win, hopefully it's going to be a turnaround of the season, and then we can keep this win streak going for the rest of the year.
What do you think was maybe the difference that you had tonight that maybe just wasn't there the last couple of weeks?
I think it was just the energy. Coming out last week, we didn't have the energy, we didn't have the want. We thought Algoma was going to be a worse team than they actually were, and they just played really well, and we didn't play up to them, and so they got the lead early. And this game, we knew we were the better team. We just had to come out and punch them in the face, and that's what we did. And we got the score up early, and then we just kept going from there.
And it seemed like on a few of those rushing plays where it seemed like it was just one block was needed there. Obviously, you're up there on the line there. What were you able to do to have some success there running the football tonight?
It's all about just staying on your block. Every person just keeping their blocks, and the blocks are super important on the front line, especially with those running backs coming through the holes. It's just all about keeping on the block, every single person, because once that person gets off you, they can make the play really easily, because you never know where the ball is in the backfield. So just stay on the blocks is super important the whole way through the play.
All right, we'll have you pass it off to Kevin Krauel here at the corner. And from one corner to another, how hard is it for you to really try to track the ball on a night like this where you got to look up into the sky when the ball is coming your way?
It's tough, but the lights do help. You just got to have your teammates helping you, calling ball. You got to turn, but you do what you can. Obviously, the ball was really slippery tonight, so that made it a little bit easier. But you just got to stay with them and do what you can.
And was there it seemed like, at least from up here, that it may have been a little bit tougher for the quarterback as well, just because he wasn't able to put the same spin. Was that something that you were able to read on any of the passes tonight?
Sometimes they did come out a little duck-like, which made it a little bit goofier. We also had 2 great ends. Will got a few tips, and that helped a lot.
And another thing that we kind of noticed too as well is it seemed like you guys were able to get to the quarterback a little bit more as well. How does that help you do your job in the secondary?
That's immense. When there's a guy in his face, he can't do his job quite as good because he's throwing off one foot, wheeling out to either side. Our front line really pulled together for the night.
And take us inside the huddles there at halftime and at the end of the game. You're able to snap a 3-game losing streak. What was the energy like among your teammates being able to do that and get a big victory tonight here in Gillett?
The snapping the winning streak was huge. That should carry us through the rest of our season. That was what we really needed, and tonight we just came out with the right energy, the right attitude, and like Jack said, we just got out right after him right away.
And Krauel joining us here on the post-game show, 72-20. I believe we have Coach on the corner. And congratulations on the big win. We'll have you pass it off here. And we'll see you next week.
Yes.
All right, Coach Mike Peck, all smiles here tonight in Gillett after the win here. And take us through, what did you tell your team afterwards? Because usually it's kind of quiet over there even when you win, but tonight, big cheers. It almost sounded like you had a weight taken off your shoulders tonight.
The biggest thing we talked about is, actually before the game we talked, we just basically want to celebrate on our field. We've kind of given up a couple big victories at home this year, and we had to listen to what on our field, and then we had to listen to Algoma the following week, and we told our kids, hey, we want to have that fun. So really we were focusing on getting our job done. We knew coming in, as long as we did what we were capable of, that we thought the result was going to be pretty positive, and so it was only a matter of making sure we did what we needed to do, and hopefully not letting them into the game, which I think the last couple of weeks we've had a couple drives here and there where all of a sudden we gave Algoma extra life, we gave Albino life that we didn't want to give, and so I was a little bit worried when we were up 20-0 and we ended up giving up that touchdown, get 20-6. I'm like, let's not give them life and get back in this game. Like, let's get the lead, step on their throats, and keep going. And so that was kind of what we talked about when we were on the sideline, in the middle of the first quarter, when I called the whole team together instead of just kickoff team. I said, hey, we're where we want to be now. We've talked about we got to find that extra gear, and so they found it in the second quarter, and we just kind of blew the game wide open. And so we got a lot of things we could work on there in the second half. You saw we brought the PAT team out, and something we haven't done all year. So It was nice for our JV kids to get in the end zone so they could let our starters try that when we had a little bit of a leeway where we didn't have to. It's not a situation where we needed those points, so it was nice to go out there and try something that we just put into the offense. I mean, we just started that PAT this week, so it was nice to get some live actions because it's hard to simulate that in practice when you only got one or two coaches trying to blitz because the kids don't understand where all that pressure's coming from. So I think that was probably the best part of the second half for us, was getting some of that work in that we can't simulate in our actual practices. And then unfortunately for our JV kids, Gillett's got too many injuries, so we're not having our JV game on Monday. So it was nice to get all those kids in the second half. Yeah, we gave up a couple touchdowns there, but it was nice for them to see kids who probably, it was a mix of some of their their second teamers and their third teamers. I think they just put their true JV kids in probably right there at the end, and so it was good for our second team guys to see a little bit faster speed than what we normally have on the JV games, because our JV team seems to be pretty successful, which is kind of hard to simulate, when you don't have them ever playing against the ones. So it was good for them to see that harder competition today.
And it seemed like the ones had some fun playing on special teams as well, because it seemed like your twos were your ones and your ones were your twos, and doing special teams. I mean, that's got to be good that everybody kind of gets an opportunity to play those positions.
Yeah, that was actually my call at halftime. I told the kids, I said, okay, we're going to flip jobs. And they looked at me like, what are you talking about? I'm like, well, you guys are going to be the starting kickoff team. They're like, well, you mean the starting kickoff team? I'm like, no, those are normally the kids who are playing. You guys who don't normally have to play kickoff are playing kickoff. I said, because you got to see what those kids normally do for you on a normal Friday night. You don't understand their job until you have to do it. So I think that was a little bit of an experience. I mean, and at least they were still into the game. They weren't checked out. They had their helmets on. They were paying attention to what's going on. They were rooting for the JV guys to score so they could go out and do a kickoff. So that was kind of nice to have them behind those JV kids, helping them out.
And finally, we asked Kevin there, how big of a relief was that to get back into the win column?
It feels good, but I'm going to be honest. We got a lot of goals ahead of ourselves yet, so we can't rest on the fact that we won one. We got another tough one next week that we have to get. I mean, we talked about it. There's goals that our kids have, and if they want to take care of that, we got to go one game at a time, and we can't get too high or too low. I mean, we weren't too low when we lost those games. We knew they were ones we didn't really want to drop, but we can't get too high. So it's one game, and in actuality, we got to finish our season out, hoping 4-2 will be good enough to get us into the playoffs.
You have a towel on the coach on the bus, Coach?
Absolutely not. I actually didn't pack enough clothes, so it's going to be interesting. Like I don't know. I've got to hope one of my other coaches brought like a spare pair of shorts or something, because apparently I forgot that part when I was packing this morning at 4 o'clock. So, but I'll make it. It'll be all right. I guess I'll ride wet winning a game. So
well, maybe if we catch you before leaving, I got a Lemons Water Care sweatshirt I can loan you here, so you don't get a cold coming back trying to celebrate this win tonight. But congratulations, Coach. It's glad to see that smile on your face after a game. We'll talk to you next week.
all right, Tim. Thank you.
All right, we'll take a quick break, and we'll wrap things up here in Gillett. You're listening to the new Radio Sports Network on 105.1 The GOAT.